Bron and Stephanie, welcome to you both. Stephanie, could you just introduce yourself to the people here in New Zealand who already know Bron? We've done some very good interviews earlier while she was touring around Australia. And obviously, Bronwyn, this is a catch-up with what you've been doing in the last few months. But Stephanie, just tell us what your involvement is with Bronwyn.
I'm an environmental scientist, so I've had a 25-year career in contaminated land, but that wasn't resonating with me anymore. The industry has kind of lost itself in amongst, with everything that's going on in the world. So I came across Bron probably first 21, 22. With the whole COVID madness, with lockdown, I had a lot more time on my hands because I wasn't traveling as much for work. I was, and I started looking around to what was there and sort of asking myself all those questions about what is my passion, what do I really want? And for me, it was what was missing in my industry, which was actually caring for the soil, actually bringing the soil back to life, because the soil is everything. I've got a farming background as well. I grew up on a cattle grazing property. And for me, caring for our soil, because that's the foundation of everything, of the food chain, of the ecosystem, and that's suffering. So I was looking for solutions on how we could actually properly remediate soil back into living kind of glorious health, because that's directly linked to our health as well.
It's so exciting, because we can't be healthy if our plants that we feed to our animals or the plants we eat are nutritionally deficient. And people more and more in the last 5 years are realizing it all goes back to what? The soil microbiome. It's like our own gut microbiome, isn't it?
We are, and that's what we're made up of, trillions and trillions of different little microorganisms, as is the soil. It's all linked. And I came across Bronwyn and Earthfood, and that was the thing that I had been struggling with in my industry. Was I knew that microbiology in the soil was the key, but you couldn't pick it up and transfer it from one area to another, because they're living organisms, and they need specific conditions, and usually they die, or they die off in that process. And then I came across Bron, who has been able to bottle this stuff, and it's magical when you start using it. Watching the life return to everything. So I was hooked on the first bottle, have started working with Bron more closely, because we need to get the word out there. We need to get people using it on every corner of the planet.
Every corner of the planet. So before we go to Bronwyn and she can talk about Earthfood and explain to people just exactly how it does bring the soil back to life and bring our food nutritionally rich again, tell us what practices you were seeing before you realized there was someone like Bronwyn who was deeply committed to caring for the soil. What were you seeing in your prior life as a soil scientist, Stephanie?
I think, to give you the best example I can give you, is we used to do something called, so I was in contaminated land, so we were charged with remediating soil that through industry, through particularly the petroleum industry, through a lot of other industrial practices, a lot of toxins, heavy metals, PAHs, the sort of the aromatic hydrocarbons, things like that had contaminated the soil.
Wow.
Our job was to remove those.
So you might go to where oil was being drilled, or what about mining sites for gold and silver? Those sorts of sites?
Mining sites, industrial sites. Mining sites are some of the worst. They're due to the sheer size. They concentrate all of that waste material, the tailings and things, into an area which become so toxic as to, you need special gear to be able to walk into those areas, safety gear, and nothing lives there. But I'll give you an example of how we used to clean the soil. So we used to do this thing called thermal desorption, in which you dig up the soil and you'd put it through a pug mill. So you dig it out of the ground where it's been contaminated, put it into a pug mill, which would break it up into very small clumps and small pieces. We then feed it into a thermal chamber and heat that soil up to 1200 degrees Celsius. So basically you're burning off all organic material in that soil, everything. Anything that was left in it is gone, and all you're left with is the bare mineral. Anything that's not going to melt at that kind of, or burn off at that temperature. And that material at the end would be spat out, and they'd be like, see, it's clean. It's not toxic anymore. And they'd put that back in the ground and walk away and say, job done. But so it's not soil anymore. It was just, and it was never going to grow anything. It's going to take decades before that soil is capable of growing. But we were told that's where you finish. We sign off and we walk away and say that site's now clean.
Bronwyn,
We'll never be productive again.
That story just makes my heart ache, and that's just from the conversations I've had with you. Bronwyn, soil is a living being, just like we are living beings, isn't it? Give people an idea of why what Stephanie said is just so wrong if we want healthy soils.
Well, Liz, I haven't heard that before, and my eyes started to leak. I've really felt that Mother Nature is really, she's definitely, I feel it. I feel that she is holding the pain and of all that. Anyway, I'm getting quite emotional about it because I feel it's something that can be fixed really easily and quickly. So let's think about it. The soil is actually minerals, and it has a life form that goes through it, and that's called fungi, bacterium. In a nutshell, it is a living thing. It is a living skin on the whole planet. It has a frequency. It has a frequency of 7 to 12 hertz. That's the same as what you'll find for those people who are interested in frequency, is what happens inside towards the core of the earth, that we have this beat. We have a beat. Our hearts have a beat. We have a beat. We also have those same ancient microbes in our guts. And did you know 90% of these microbial components in our body are in our bowel, and 90% of those create serotonin? So here we are, when we talk about your guts, it's literally your bowel, your stomach, and your lungs too. It goes all the way through your whole abdomen, and these ancient microbes are being starved. So what we're doing to Mother Nature is we're just like a mirror to each other. What we're doing to ourselves is exactly mirroring what's happening to Mother Earth. Our ancient gut and brain health is the same as the ancient biome in the soil. We are of the same. And here we are starving Mother Nature. We're feeding her skin with these chemicals and big ag products that literally kill these microbes, fungi, and the mycelium network within the skin. We're doing the same thing to ourselves. We're now eating engineered food. We're not having our natural bone broths and soups and stews and the wholesome food which feed our ancient biome. Our ancient biome is starving, and this is where you get the problems with the brain health, dementia, and various levels of autism, even foggy brain, just being unwell. And most of our bacterium that we need to make us well is in our guts, right down into our large intestines, into our bowel. In fact, 90% of the bacterium that generates serotonin, the happy hormone, is there. So if that's starved and is being killed off with chemicals, we're the same. So Mother Earth is suffering as well. And it goes right across. It's not just her. It's all flora and fauna now. All in Australia, we've got kangaroo, koala, even fish, birds, critters on the ground, and bees. Now, what is happening is these are all being contaminated. There are lots of media now showing where you've got a special yellow frog from Townsville now is dying from this very amazing and rare cancer. And we've got these biosecurity problems everywhere. We've got plants that are having never seen not before thrip or a borer or in a big tree or some virus on a tomato or ants that are supposedly causing havoc. Now, these biosecurity zones, which they're now being called a zone, never used to be, we never had any of this. We didn't have cancers like the way we have cancers now or the diseases that we have now. This is all in the last, what would you say, I don't know, 60 years since World War II, maybe, is when all of this started to kick in. Our own body became very, very susceptible to certain kinds of diseases, and it's the same with Mother Nature and all her living things. Now they are susceptible to all kinds of diseases and terminal diseases. We're seeing this time and time again. I have travelled from one side of Australia to the other, north and south, east and west. The stories I hear from the sanitised news, which stops at the border of every state, is the same over and over again. We are having such a horrific time with these sicknesses and diseases in plants, animals, insects, all living things, and us. I don't know.
So contrast with what your product does. What does it do? Because I think we've made the point here now that if our soil is not alive with this beautiful microbiome and these beautiful networks of mycelium and pulsing with life, then how can our food be alive and how can we be fully living? What does it do, Earthfood? How does it cure the earth?
Well, in today, we've got a lot of greenwashing with what is a waterborne microbe. When people do compost teas or worm juices, these are waterborne, and if you are using them, you'll need to use them straight away because microbes will die if they're not in their destination of a plant cell or a particle of soil. The difference here is these are carnivorous, nitrifying, living soil microbes. These have been put through our IP in a controlled temperature and a controlled environment, so they are suspended. They are asleep. They only wake up when we mix with water, and that's the hydrogen in water, H2O, and that makes them alive to be able to do what they do best, and that's reproduce by the power of 9 million by 9 million by 9 million. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's no other product like this in the world. The point of difference here is the water biome will only sort of sit in the top level of the 200 mil of the soil. Now that will be enough so long as you've got moist soil, and that will help put some microbial life, which will make plants look pretty. It generates the soil and helps the mycelium network. But as soon as you get a bit of snow on the ground or a cold winter frost or a 48-degree burning sun, they're gone. They don't live. That soil's either been cooked or it's drowned or frozen. They're not designed for that. They're not soil microbes. So these ones that we have, they're nitrifying, which means we get snow, frost, a burning hot day, they just go down into the ground. And there's nothing more to add. You don't need to mix in other things, which is what one has to do when you've got waterborne. You need trace minerals, you need various levels of natural NPK and chook manure and this and that. Well, you don't need to with soil biome. Soil biome does it all for itself. It's used to working on its own. It can create its own connection with plant roots, and the roots will farm them. They will build their own colonies all under the ground. They will structure the ground. And even if there's ice and freezing conditions up top, they're down, way down in the ground. What they're doing is they're actually enticing plant roots to come down, 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 be strong and healthy, make more sugar. Because if the roots make the sugar, that's what the microbes eat. They don't eat biochar and chook manure and all that sort of stuff. They eat the sugar, and in return, they will unlock all the nutrients that are already in the God-given soil. They're already there. It's just they've been bound up by chemicals and exposure to the sun and all the stuff we do to it. It's just been a long journey for poor old Mother Earth this last, 100 years. Yeah.
Or, Stephanie, by the horrific heating process, which is basically like burning Mother Earth. So give us your experience. When did you first come across Bronwyn? When did you first, as a soil scientist, begin to put your hands in what she offered and realise the magic of it, Stephanie? What was your story with it?
Well, obviously, coming from a farm, I understand like soil health and how important it was. And then in my contaminated land career, I'd always recognised that the microbiome, that there were macro sort of flora as well as microfauna that would do the job, that would actually heal the soil, deal with the contaminants. But the problem was getting the right ones and moving them from place to place where they were needed. And it was something I was really interested in, but there was no money for research in it. No one was interested in that kind of style of remediation. They wanted fast and dirty. They wanted things signed off as quickly as possible so they could capitalise on building or redeveloping land or whatever they wanted to do. So it was a bare minimum. So when I came across, and then obviously, I've always gardened, and I've noticed that it was getting harder and harder and harder in my sort of North Brisbane garden, the setting. But the weeds, the pests were becoming extreme, and it was incredibly difficult just to grow crops that I'd been growing for years. Basic ones, radishes, carrots. It was incredibly difficult. So that's why I started looking more at the health of my soil sort of in Brisbane, and that's when I came across Bronwyn and Earthfood. And I thought, well, I've tried everything else, and I know what she's saying, and I know how important the microfauna and flora is in the garden. So I gave it a go, and literally overnight, I saw results. I saw such an improvement in the vibrancy of the plants by the next morning. I couldn't believe it. So that's when I went back to her and I started asking for more information. I'm like, what have you got in here? Like, what are these bugs? Like, this is incredible. I've
And
used so many
literally,
products.
and you're not exaggerating. It was literally overnight.
It was literally overnight.
I can't wait to try this in my garden.
Yeah.
What did you see? What was it? Was it bigger leaves, or was it new foliage? Was it insects? What were you seeing?
Literally overnight, they were standing taller and just looked that little bit more vibrant. Like there's a little bit of a shine on the leaf. They just looked, yeah. And then after a couple of weeks, you started to notice that the new growth coming onto them was bigger and healthier and greener. I did a couple of little scientific experiments because that's my nature. I'm a scientist, where I planted pots of cucumbers that I just did the normal way, and then I had a container where I was putting the earth food on it. And I couldn't believe how much faster the earth food cucumbers were growing, how much bigger the fruit was. It was amazing. So and that was when I started talking to Bronwyn about about helping out, getting the word out there, and then that's where it's come from, basically.
It must be terribly satisfying for you, having done all those years, seeing you done the job supposedly, but the earth you left behind was not happy earth. But here's earth that I can even feel it through your words. It's happy earth. It's alive. It's full of
Exactly.
life force.
Yeah.
Wow. And have you tried it ever? Did you ever go back to any of those sites you worked on to see if that earth that had been fried basically could have come back to life? Have you tried any of those sites you used to frequent?
Not yet, no. That I parted ways with the industry. Had a big change during COVID and took a redundancy from my corporate job because they just weren't interested. They really weren't. They didn't see it as their responsibility to bring that soil back to being productive, just as long as they got their clean bill of health from the EPA or the government body or the council, so that they could redevelop. That's all they were after.
That's so sad, Bron,
Mm.
but it's so exciting. I mean, imagine being
Mm.
able to do that experiment, Stephanie, where you could
Oh
turn up
yeah.
at a mining
Hmm.
site and use Bronwyn's product and see what it does.
Exactly. Yeah, I would have loved to. And I said I've still got contacts in the industry, and I'm doing everything I can in the background to get somebody interested in using the product on a real site, big site, to see what we can do.
And Stephanie, when you used it, was it literally pouring it out of the bag onto the soil and digging it in, or what did you do? Give us the actual mechanics of getting it into your garden there.
Yeah, so the product comes. It's actually in a liquid format, as Bronwyn said. The microbes are asleep in their little humic kind of brew, and you just it's foliar spray. So basically, you put it into a spray backpack, or you can use a watering can, and you apply it to the leaves and let it drip down onto the soil, and it will actually go into the leaves, go down the stems, into the roots, all through the soil. It couldn't be easier. It's beautiful to watch. Yeah, it's beautiful to watch the transformation. Yeah.
So describe your garden now. Is it full of delicious vegetables? Do you grow anything in there?
We're getting there. We're getting there. As I said, I'm doing sections at a time and bringing it back and replanting. And at the moment, I'm focusing on fruit trees. So getting a lot of fruit trees in and going on the land. And hopefully, yeah, we'll start to see. Like I said, the back garden is starting to transform. So now I've got to start working on the front garden.
I had a friend, Bron, who planted up his property near Nelson and spent a fortune on very expensive trees, some natives, unusual trees. And he said, I keep losing like every third or fourth tree. And sure enough, he was spraying around the area with none other than glyphosate. And I said to him, it's the glyphosate. The glyphosate is weakening, the Roundup is weakening the roots of the trees. Is that a fair call, Bron? I had a gut instinct. It was that.
Yeah, that's very true. And what a lot of people don't realise is that glyphosate actually moves under the ground with water. So when you get the rain, or even if you get like a really hot day and a cold night, you'll actually end up building a small movement with condensation. And that could be like in the top, depending on what kind of soil it is. I'm just talking generically, right? So this chemical then comes in and it's literally moves. So and you have to have water for it to move. But the worst one here in Australia is when we've got the sugar cane where there's high levels of wheat. So now farmers have to sign an agreement to be able to get seed to plant. They have to use glyphosate 4 times in the growing cycle, otherwise they don't get their seed. And if they want to go organic, they can't, because most farmers don't know how to market themselves, or they won't be able to tap into sales markets where they could sell their stock. So it's just, look, it just does your head in what's going on out there. And I have a wardrobe of stories. With glyphosate, it embeds into the tissue culture of the food. It embeds into the roots. It dries out. It's a desiccant. It dries out. It dries out the weeds. The whole idea is the weeds. So it dries it out to kill, but it also compacts your soil. It kills your soil biome. So that's all dried out. And then if your trees are dying, I can tell you they probably need a really good a good drink of nice water with some living microbes to get the production of the strength and the immunity back in the plant. We've got so many sick living things on this planet. It just stuns me when I sit still too long to think about it. I think that's why I have such a busy life. I make it busy because it's too painful.
It's too painful. And that really worries me that you're saying that about the wheat now, because that impacts what? All breakfast cereals, all breads, unless you can source an organic flour for your bread and make your own bread at home. It really means that that's going to be going into human bodies, doesn't it? It goes through the food cycle.
Yeah, I don't know if you've read the article on your earthfood.com. In the article sections, I wrote a story about my father, who was an international elite athlete, and he was, in 12 months, he went from a very successful champion to a shadow, and they call it Parkinson's and Lewy disease. I call it glyphosate poisoning, and because part of his training, he's old school, right? So part of his training was carving up the night before. They do different things today, but we're talking about like an 80-year-old guy who goes out and wins a race, and this is how he always has done it. So part of that carving up was every night you would have a big bowl of oats, I can't say the brand name, and Greek yogurt and honey every night. And of course, that particular brand has the highest levels of glyphosate that's recorded on a food in the world. And it's as common, I'm sure if I went round to the pantries around Australia, they'd probably most likely have it there. So
can we say the brand? Would it be, I mean, the defense to any kind of charge of, defaming a product or defaming a person is truth. If that can be proven, well, people will have to work it out. People have to do some research. So maybe they go on your website. Give us your website, and people can begin there by doing their own research. What's the website, Bron?
So the reason I was telling this story is in yourearthfood.com. Go to articles, and I think it's probably the top one. You'll probably see a photo of my dad. He's a kayaker, champion kayaker, and there's a photo of him in his kayak. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because there is a test you can do. It's called a mosaic test, and I've even put in there the link for the company that does that. And I thought, well, my dad's only 20 years older than me. He got me for his 21st birthday, as they did back in the 60s. And I thought, wow, is that my future? Because they say disease travels not by the food, by the genes, but the food we grew up with, and we continue the same foods. And I'm thinking, is that my future? Because we would have had the same food going through school and high school and whatever. So I did that test, which in Australia you get sent a kit and you fill in what you have to do, little kits of bits and pieces, and then you send it back to them and they send it to America for final testing and your results. I'm kind of lucky. I didn't get the full-blown the average, so they tell you the average. So I'm not the average, I'm below the average, and I have a feeling in my self-inquiry is I've always been prone to be a bit chubby sometimes, and I grew up with the idea, cut out the carbs. So I didn't really have as many carbs as perhaps the rest of my family, and I think that probably saved me somehow from the higher normal levels. The higher normal levels can really blow up to catastrophic levels where we've got people who are now showing signs of the glyphosate effects in our bodies.
You're talking about the higher than normal levels of carbs, of carbo loading.
Yes, and because of that, you've got the higher level of glyphosate in your body.
Wow.
Now, so a lot of people aren't aware that when you have wheat, for example, it's easy for them to use glyphosate to dry out the wheat and they just come along, harvest, cut and bag. Organic's a little bit different. They're stainless steel slashed and laid in the ground to dry in the sun, and then they gather them and they shake them and bag them. That's the difference. So a bit slower. Maybe that's why it's a bit costs more. I don't know. But we're finding that in France they have different wheat as well. They don't have a GMO as we have here in Australia, and you would have in New Zealand. That's also a contributor, because there's another article in my website. It's called GMO does not mix with our DNA. And the GMO food, which is an altered food from its natural molecular structure, things are missing. Well, guess what? The food that we're supposed to be eating and building our DNA, because we totally rebuild our whole body in a year using the blueprint of the DNA. So that DNA is damaged and there's pieces that are missing. So it's changing us as we're eating the stuff that's changed.
This is absolutely horrific, because in New Zealand under Christopher Luxon, he has, on the eve of Christmas, he sneaked in a bill that is called the Gene Technology Bill. People are writing against it, protesting, having meetings with friends. What can we do to stop this? And they are not listening to the people. Now, they have just made the change this week in New Zealand that genetically modified foods don't have to have any declaration on them that they are GMO modified. So this is what they're trying to do, and it's driven by Bill Gates. Are you Bron, you want to say something there?
Oh, absolutely. I just put a post up in my own personal Bronwyn Holm in Meta talking about the CRISPR technique that they're using on food and how that's going to affect us and our rebuilding of who we are as a human, what we were. It's just a short post, but maybe I should do an article for you or something. But I've been diving into these areas for some time now. And
explain the CRISPR technique.
The CRISPR technique is where they change the genes in it's a technology that changes the genes within a cellular molecular structure of something. So we're eating this food. It's not actually food. It's engineered food. Well, the body doesn't actually know what to do with engineered food, and it's not feeding the ancient biome, which is the stuff that keeps us. It's the glue to us. It's the glue to our mental health. It's the glue to our physical health. If you've got those two together, you've got a really good spiritual health. And even if you've got that good, it's disastrous. The whole thing's about smashing humanity. It's smashing food for animals. If you've got pets, guess what? They're right in the mix of it. What's mostly everybody feed is kibble. Or, little biscuits. Well, they're made with GMO wheat. And they wonder why, their dog or their cat's got cancer at 6 years of age and they have to put it down.
This is just insanity, Stephanie, isn't it? What do you feel when you hear Bronwyn talk about the truth like this?
I've been aware of this for a long time. I've been on a journey since about 2006 with some of my own health issues and learning all of this. It's really evident when you do look at your pets. I grew up on a farm where we had cats, dogs, pigs, chickens, the lot. We had chickens that were living into their 30s. We had, cats that were regularly 25 years old, never seen a vet in their life, healthy and they were living on their natural diet because they caught their own rats and mice, and sometimes we'd throw them some left over from our food, but it was always raw meat and what they meant to eat. All of a sudden, when I moved to university in Brisbane, I started seeing these animals that were dying, at less than 10 years old. Cats getting diabetes, which is just ridiculous, because they're putting sugar into their food to make them addicted to this kibble. And that's what I say to people. I say, a lot of people, that's how they're waking up initially. They're seeing it in their animals that they love, and realizing that something's wrong. and then you sort of say to them, well, if that's what's happening with your cat or your dog, what's happening to you? Exactly the same thing. You need to be aware that, yeah, the convenience, basically, it comes down to convenience for me. What they see as convenient food is not really food at all. It's food grade plastic, and with a lot of extra chemicals in it that they're putting into their bodies. And that's why I see a huge rise in autoimmune disease. Our bodies no longer recognize the food that we're putting in as food. It's too far removed, whether it's through GMO, whether it's through the refining processes, which a lot of those involve solvents. So some of the chemicals I clean out of the soil is being used to produce your food. So that's what I'm seeing a lot of people starting to make those, connect those dots and realize that, yeah, the diseases that we're seeing now on such a level that has increased completely unnaturally, like, from the 70s, where some cancers were virtually unheard of. Now, 1 in 5 people have them. That it's our food and the food chain that's breaking down that's causing it.
Absolutely. And there is a lot of concern now about the jabs being given to animals. Many people have woken up, obviously, in the last 5 years and said there was something very wrong with those COVID jabs. People are now saying, is the mRNA, is that platform? They're not vaccines. It's a new kind of DNA interfering technology. Is that platform being used right across the board for human flu jabs, for animal jabs? They're not telling us the truth, but people are seeing horrendous reactions within their animals shortly after they've been jabbed at the vets. The only thing we can hope is doing what we're doing in this group, which is discuss the truth and share what we see and know. So as a scientist, Stephanie, where have you taken it with Bron? What is it that you're excited about in working with her, and where are you two going to go with this product?
I think at this point, we are really at a turning point, and I'm seeing a lot of people going back to old school ways. They're realizing that they have to grow their own food if they want clean, real food with actual nutrition. I've got a lot of people that are just learning how to garden. They've never had their hands in the soil in their entire lives, and they're wanting to learn. They're getting into preserving. They're making their own cheese, and all trying to source, organic and clean produce to do that. So I think as that trend develops, getting that information out and educating people on how to make their soil healthy again as the basis to the entire food chain is incredibly important. I'm very excited about looking at any opportunity, any way that we can do that. And I think it's, for me, I would love to be able to get into the ears of some of my colleagues who are doing these really large projects on mine sites and things, and get into that space where we can take a lot of the mining land back into productive agricultural land again. But I'm just as happy, doing it one backyard at a time. And, basically, if I can get anyone, onto it and looking at their own little space, that starts to multiply and will very quickly expand.
Where can people contact you if they want to do that? There's a lovely saying, do not wait for leaders, do it alone, person to person. I think that's what you're doing. So how can they contact you if they want to talk to you about improving?
I have a little kind of startup, New Earth Solutions, I'm calling myself, and I've got a Facebook page, Facebook/Health is from the ground up. Yep, you can find me there. And then also with Bronwyn through her Earthfood Educators. I'm listed there.
What is it as a scientist, do you think, that makes Bronwyn's product stand out from anything else that's on the market? It does feel singular. It feels unique. What is it that makes it so different?
It actually works. It's exactly as she advertises. It does exactly what she says it does. And you'd be surprised. I've done a couple of speaking engagements with garden clubs recently, And a lot of people actually put up their hand and said the number one most sold garden product that everybody used because they thought it was organic and great and healthy. And whether I can mention its name, I'm not sure, but it is the number one selling garden product. They all started to say they've noticed that it's not doing what it used to. And then when you tell them that that product is no longer Australian made, it's no longer organic, it's been moved offshore, it's made in China,
Oof.
it's now a seaweed tea rather than what it used to be. And again, it's waterborne, as Bronwyn says. It's not. It doesn't have the actual soil bacteria and microbes. It's a waterborne product. When you tell them that, you see a lot of eyebrows raised, and then they start questioning the other products they're using. And that's what I say to them. I say, try the Earthfood because it does what it says it's going to. And in this day and age, there is very few products that actually, you can actually put into that category.
I agree. And Bron, because you have such a heart. I mean, when you said earlier you wanted to weep when you heard what was being done to the soil, I know you enough to know that is no exaggeration. You truly love all things to do with healthy soil. And it comes from what? Your great-grandfather, your great-great-grandfather who brought out these microbiomes to be a vintner, to grow grapes in Australia from Europe?
Yeah, in the 1880s, he arrived in Australia and he was the head winemaker at Hermitage Estate Wine, which is Dalwood today. It's an award-winning winemaking company, and it has been since that time. In fact, my great-great-grandfather was the one who opened up the foreign wine competitions in Bordeaux, and that's how the Australians got their wines in those competitions. And he was an expert champagne maker because he knew how to grow grapes because he had this microbial solution. But the difference between what he used back then and what we do today is that Earthfood is put through this process where we put them to sleep, and they can stay asleep for up to 10 years. So this is a very revolutionary type. This been around. This product has been around for 40 years. It's had $1 million in trials for commercial farmers' confidence, and we've got we've been harassed from pillar to post from big ag people from different times, and I won't talk about that on air. But you know, there is a thing that we have had our battles. And I decided a long time ago I was just going to work with grassroots. I was just going to go around and just speak to people so they can see the whites of my eyes and they know exactly what I'm talking about. This is carnivorous, nitrifying, living soil microbes. They clean up the chemtrails off your food. They eat metals. They can rehab soil. That's their job. Their job was by Mother Nature to do this. That's their job. Waterborne microbes, you have to keep feeding them, and it's like hard work, hard labour, and all the rest of it. Yes, people who want to make soil, perfect. Keep making soil. But most people that I know, they have a standard backyard or, 10, 20 pots on the balcony or a 10-acre little mini farm of some kind, and they're not going to be spending all of their waking hours making soil. It's just, it is a full-time job to be able to do it properly. When you can just buy a bottle, add water and spray, like, duh. It's just, and it cleans up potting mix, Liz. I'm going to tell you, potting mix. Now, this is the number one thing that when I go to clubs and so on, they say, well, what about my potting mix? Well, it's pulverized debris covered in high levels of NPK. And very often now, they come prepared with weed seed and gnat larvae as like a nice little package to get you started in the big ag cartel product repeat business.
What? And
Yes.
NPK, what is NPK? Just tell me what that is.
Nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus.
NPK. But you're saying it actually contains weeds and it contains larvae. So this is no different from the jabs were created, many say, in order to make humans very unwell or
back and
prematurely dead, so that they have, especially with children being jabbed, so they'll have lifetime customers. Because what do they care about? They care about their returns to their shareholders. They care about making a profit, not about the health of human beings. And now we see the same pattern with soil. We'll give you second-rate soil, in effect, that will then make you look for all our sprays and all of our. That is so cynical.
So, with Earthfood living microbes, if you spray that on that soil, I just say to people, you buy a 50-litre bag and you cut it from corner to corner to corner to corner, open up the flaps. Spray your Earthfood over it, because what you're doing now is you're putting these microbes in there. They're like an army of helpers. They will start cleaning that up. They will break down the chemicals. They will break down the big hunks of bark that you see. All of it's supposed to be soil, but it's just a medium. And they'll break that down and start making it into soil. Because what is soil? Soil is something that had life in it before, and microbes have broken it down to minerals. So I'm 87 minerals, Liz, and when I die, I'm just going to be broken down into the soil. Anything that has life before, a leaf, a piece of bark, a bird, an insect, you and me, it all gets broken to minerals. That's what soil is.
And we are of soil. That's why at funerals they always used to say earth to earth, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. That's what we break down to. And we forget our roots with the soil, our links.
That's right. And that's why you've got births, deaths, and what is it? The titles office is registered with the Lands Department, because we are of the land.
It's so profound what you are offering. How affordable is this for farmers who are struggling? Because I was talking to Craig Kelly earlier today, and we were talking about farmers and how bullied they are by the bureaucrats and how they need all our love and support. But could this bring back the soil quickly for farmers so they could crop better off their lands and start to make some money where these bureaucrats are trying to rob them at every turn?
Don't get me started. So in terms of farming, that's depending whether they've got forklifts or not. Some people just have smaller ones. There's 20-litre cubes, and then we have the IBCs. We're hoping to bring out the IBCs to the farmers in New Zealand. I get emails from them, I don't know, probably about 2 or 3 a week, different people.
Wow, desperate to have it out here in New Zealand.
Absolutely.
And what are IBCs?
That's 1,000-litre. What's your language over there? Is it a tote or IBC? It's a big 1,000-litre cube.
It's a massive amount. I'm not sure of that, but what I do know is that we've got a bureaucratic nightmare here in New Zealand as well. Are you making progress with the bureaucracy getting the product in?
Look, I stopped because my speaking tour was taking me off, and I got I don't know if you know, I became very traumatised when I went through South Australia. I think there was a video I did where I came off a farm and I just drove down his kilometre-long driveway, turned right, and then I turned left into a really old cemetery that was built like in 1820 or something ridiculously old. And I just got out of the van and I just cried and cried and cried and cried. And I'm still feeling it now when I think about it. It was traumatic, and I think these people don't have a chance. I just can't help them. They're so hypnotised. I'm going to be blunt here, Liz, and that is that the narratives that are coming out of the big ag, their processes, they are literally hypnotising the farmers. They're using Ericksonian languaging, which is hypnotising language, and they speak to them in such a way that they will not be able to change their undies without their agronomist's permission. It's like that type. And
give us an example of that. Give us an example. You mean they talk down to them, they patronise them, they bully? What is it? A combination of bullying and patronising. How does it work?
Yeah, so it's hypnosis where nothing is going to work except what we do for you, and then it doesn't work. And so the farmer spends their money. They end up with IBCs of product all under the shed. They've used it all out. They've paid a guy in a tractor or whatever they're using, tonnage of water, which, by the way, they have to pay a heap of tax on. And then they pay tax on water in the sky, before it hits the ground. Stupid stuff. And they are working so hard for so little because, as Stephanie said, there is not the return. Nothing is coming out of the ground. The ground is totally done. It cannot and will not. And this is about food.
It cannot and will not
now,
support
Liz.
life. You mean it cannot support life. Wow. And it's about food security.
Yeah.
We know that around the world they are really trying to manufacture a food shortage. Are you aware of that, Stephanie? This is part of Agenda 2030. This is part of the Marxist. If people say, oh, that's ridiculous, look at what Marxism does. It goes in after wars into countries, and when people are on their knees and it says, oh, we'll save you, take our Marxist communist system. So we're not having that kind of war. We're having a different kind of warfare. This is warfare, but it's on a different level. So they're trying to starve us and break down our food supplies, break our farmers in order to starve us. The whole ultimate goal before 2030 is to have the people of the West on our knees, where we'll just put our hands up and say, give us whatever food you have. We're so desperate. At which point they'll say, you must be controlled by us. We have a digital ID. Your money is controlled under central bank digital currency. You have no right to go anywhere because you must stay in your smart surveillance, S for surveillance, monitoring, M for monitoring cities. And you are not allowed in the countryside. The countryside is for the very wealthy, for the elite. But they're not elite, they're parasitic. Are you aware of all of this, Stephanie?
Oh, yes, yeah. I started to see it 2016, it started to take pace when I watched the corporation I work for restructure. But the way they restructured didn't make sense to anybody at all. And for a company involved in making energy, to have a department now, they put in a global department called Cities and Society. It was bizarre, and they were throwing a lot of money into this department, and no one really understood what it was about. But
what was it about? What was it doing?
Basically, they were going to large cities and large councils of these cities, like Sydney City Council, and getting them to sign up so that our company would supply the energy to this city. So they were having contracts, and that was the start of. I started looking into that and going, what on earth? And that's when I came across the whole 15-minute city agenda as part of the World Health and the WEFs, the three-letter world government that we're basically governed by. So these smart cities, these 15-minute cities, were already taking shape then. And there are contracts that the company was writing up at that time, and they were going to be supplying energy to that city. And that would be that city's only supply.
That would be the city's only supply. And this was 9 years ago. You saw this. And you saw the name Smart Cities. You saw those names.
It was being spoken about and as I said, I work for a multinational corporation, energy corporation. It was being spoken about then. And I started asking questions and looking into it. And the further I looked, the more disquieting it got. And I think a lot of people in 2020 who started to wake up, I don't think they realised just how far along the agenda already is.
Horrendous. There was a meme that says they call them smart cities because if they called them concentration camps, which is what they are, nobody would want to go there. And they are concentration camps. They're to keep us in open air prisons. Bron, what were you going to add there?
Oh no, I was just going to say that's exactly what's been happening for a long time, and even now I'm talking about things like the July 19 sign up with the international health regulations. This
by Penny Wong, wasn't it? Penny Wong, who has no children, who's absolutely a WEF globalist, who has no sense of the world she's going to leave to descendants because she doesn't have any, but is just willing to sell out her fellow Australians for whatever advantages she gets now.
Yeah, cheerfully, no care factor whatsoever. A lot of people haven't really joined the dots on this, and that is I believe we had our last election. That's what I see, because now this will be cemented in by law in the it'll be rammed in. You wait and see. It'll be at midnight on the 25th of September, and that'll be law. And that means that our government is no longer our government, and that's what people can't see. And if you notice what's happening in Parliament as of like this week, Pauline Hanson was in there with a bill. We had Alex Antic in there with a bill. Nothing's happening. It's like you might as well go and have a picnic on the front lawn. They know perfectly well. Their jobs are just to turn up to work, keep life normal so that the rebels don't carry on and, nothing to see here. We're just normal as anything. They're making it normal. You wait and see. Look, our time is, I don't know. Oh, help us, Lord. I just don't know what to say. I'm choking on the words. Yeah.
This is the globalists.
Yeah. It's all plain face.
It's all what?
Plain face, right in front of you.
Right in front of you. Okay, from both of you, we've had a real roller coaster ride through this talk, because there's the beauty of what Bronwyn's product can do in your gardens. So as you said, Stephanie, people can really, and Bron, you as well, you can really get out and start to make your own food and grow your own food, maybe even get a little bit of land and put some animals on and get healthy animals and get healthy meat from there. You can really start to think about getting out of cities as much as possible. But we can't look away from what these evil globalists have planned for us, which is all there and under Agenda 2030. So, Stephanie, I want your advice for people who are listening to this going, this is a lot bigger and it feels a bit scary at the moment. Don't be scared. This is what Jim Ferguson says in the UK, who I work with on Freedom Train International. His saying is, don't be scared, be prepared. So start to really get prepared now. There must be a massive global pushback. We are many. They are few. They can't rule over all of us. They can't throw us all in prison when we say no to their plans. So, Stephanie, what do you advise for people who are thinking, well, where do I start? Where do I start my research? How do I start pushing back?
I think it's convenience. You have to let go of of convenience. And start looking into how you can look after yourself, basically. I think a lot of people have become hooked into that nanny state. Someone else will look after me. It's all convenience. It's all there for me. Let go of that notion of convenience and start to get interested in investing in yourself and your education and learning how to become more sustainable yourself. It's very, very easy to do. I mean, it's as simple as growing a little pot of microgreens on your kitchen bench if you're in an apartment. You can start doing little things like that just to have food sources for yourself.
Get pots for your balcony if you're in an apartment. Go and approach a local farmer and say, can I come out once a week and work on your farm and maybe grow a row of veggies myself and put some of Bronwyn's Earthfood on there. There are lots of ideas. Actually, Stephanie, someone told me years ago, never ever buy, if you can help it, buy anything from the middle aisles of the supermarket. I mean, we need maybe our toilet paper, but we can do without that. We can use leaves in the end. but all the food that's in plastic wrappings is not nutrition anymore. It's just not after what. It's not food. So my diet has become a whole lot healthier, just greens and a bit of meat and a bit of fruit and maybe some sourdough bread. Are you simplifying, the way you eat?
Very much, very much. Yep, going right back to that diet, the 3 veg and meat at night and even breakfast, eggs for breakfast now rather than, I've given cereal away altogether. But getting back to those, the way your grandparents ate and the way your grandparents lived. I'm seeing community gardens becoming really important, and I know a lot of councils try and wrap you up in bureaucracy, but guerrilla gardeners are becoming a huge thing in a lot of cities where people are just going out and planting fruit trees in parks, and usually no one notices. But yeah, community gardens, I think, in particularly in city areas, will become very important and are very easy to do, really, once you have a few basic skills.
I love that. And if you have a big front lawn, you don't need grass to rip
Exactly.
it up,
Yep.
and maybe get a few neighbors around and work on a community garden in your own plot instead of these massive lawns that take all the sprays and all the watering. They don't impress anyone really anymore. But that's very positive, Stephanie. Bronwyn, let's finish on a positive note here. Obviously, your earth food is a key. I just need to see that coming into New Zealand because, boy, I'll help you market it, I can tell you.
Look, so good. Yeah. So, I'm working on that. Right now, we've got some biosecurity, trying to work with what they're looking for. We've got an international harmony code. We can send this product anywhere in the world except Russia and China and New Zealand.
That is crazy. When we're practically the same country, we could be one country. It's crazy, the bureaucracy in New Zealand. But Bron, what else do you recommend for people who are feeling worried? I thought Stephanie had some great suggestions.
Fear not, my dear friends, fear not. Look, I am telling you. Okay, so Jim says be prepared, and I can tell you, let the microbes do it for you. We can't save the world, right? What we can do is we can look after our own square metre on the planet right now, and that's what we're going to have to look towards. We're going to have to fix our soil. We're going to have to save seed, get as much seed as you can. Now, we are going through a seed shortage in Australia. No doubt you will have it there. It is happening around the world, seed shortage. We won't be able to access the Doomsday Vault anymore because Mr. Gates has now put so much money towards it that even though he doesn't own it, he, by purely patronising it in such a way, he practically does. So we're going to have to start hand harvesting, learning to hand harvest seed. We're going to have to learn to look after seed. How do you look after your seed? It is a life force. It is a living thing too. It's not just something you just chuck out down the sink. We're so used to that. We're so spoilt as a humanity. No. From now on, you save your seeds. You let them dry out. Some might need to be in a freezer, some might need to be in a fridge, and some might need to have a little sprinkling of cinnamon on it so they don't go mouldy if you're in a damp tropical area or damp area. And learn about this. I think we're going to have, Steph, to do little programs, little videos for people so they can actually get and do all of these things at home, because seeds will be used as a commodity in the future. That's how valuable they are. You think Bitcoin's worth something, wait till you see seeds in the future. And I'm not talking that far away. So get onto seeds, get onto your land, kiss the earth. If you have these microbes, you can lay on your patch of soil and you can reset your nervous system in 20 minutes just by the frequency of it. You'll attract bees because bees vibrate between 7 and 12 hertz when they make the honey antibacterial. So bees are like attract like. They will turn up onto your property. They're your pollinators. Even in an area where you think there are no bees, they come out of nowhere. They travel for kilometres and they will stay because it's the frequency and the tone in your patch of land. They will come. Wow, what else? And these microbes, they clean up anything that's not meant to be there. This is Mother Nature's repair toolkit. We're not making an import. We're not making something new. All we're doing is putting it back where they were before we were destroying them. We're just putting them back. And when we put them back, we get healthier. Our gut biome gets healthier. Even, like just try to imagine that you've got better air and better water. We can build this. And I've got to say, one last thing. Try and find something that you love to do. and do it. Keep your heart frequency up. Keep your vibe up. If we keep going down these rabbit holes, where we have to sometimes, because you have to understand what is going on here, what's the situation. Now that you know, let it go and just do the opposite. Stand tall. Give yourself, be a pineapple, the crown on top and stand tall. It's like, yeah, and we can do this. We can so do this. There is nothing really. We're going to have, I think over the next 18 months, we're going to have argy-bargy. I think there's going to be a lot of that. But I have a plan. I'm going to try it out myself first before I tell the rest of the world. But I think there is a way around this. Dare I say, am I that bold? I don't know. I just want to say, look, please don't take this stuff to bed and lay awake all night thinking about your kids and your grandkids. It's action time. It's not about thinking, it's action. We all need to get off that lounge, turn that remote control to the TV off. Let's get our hands. We're talking dirty business, folks. And we're going to get really down and dirty, and let's get on with it, because we are the groundswell revolution behind suburban closed doors. This is it. This is the time. And there's no better time. And if you haven't noticed and if you haven't done anything, well, nothing like doing it today. Because now that you've heard Steph, I, and Liz talk, then if your life tomorrow, you wake up and it's exactly the same as it is today, as it was yesterday and last week and last month, well, shame on you, because now you know, and once you know, you cannot not know, and it's now personal choice.
Give us your website where people can go and order the Earthfood and where they can look at your articles. What's the reference?
Yourearthfood.com.
It's easy. And I absolutely love that idea about saving seeds. Every time I was sick for 7 weeks with a nasty, nasty flu, every time I did a lemon honey, I would, from the thing that I was squeezing the lemons with, I would bang it upside down. The seeds would drop out. I would dry them above the fire there on the shelf above the fire. And I've got these beautiful lemon seeds from Organic Lemons. But as you say, any other organic food, non-GMO food, save the genetically modified foods. And that horrific seed bank, if people aren't aware, Bill Gates is behind so much of the corruption of the world's food and farming, behind the corruption of the World Health Organization. He literally is a walking cancer on this earth, Bill Gates. But he's got a food seed vault high up in, I think, Norway or somewhere in Scandinavia. And that's where they're storing all the seeds that are not genetically modified so they can rebuild once they've killed all of us off. These people are psychopaths. Bill Gates would be a perfect villain in a Bond movie. But perfect villains always fall in the end. And we're the good guys. And so with both of you, if you do come up with other advice on gardening, I'd love to do another of these chats, because we can inspire people and make people laugh and feel happy. But meantime, please, if you can, even if you've just got pots on your balcony, order the Earthfood from Bronwyn. And final word to you, Bron.
Have a crack and back yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you both.
Be strong.
What was that, Bronwyn?
Be strong.
Oh, that's what the food does. Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Bronwyn. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.